Settling is always a choice. How people sell their souls, right? You think it's always about, like, I don't know, signing a contract with the devil. It's not. Sometimes settling is a form of selling your soul. You get what you settle for. Why would you ever buy a size 5 shoe when you know goodness well you're a size 7? Now you're living uncomfortably in life in your day-to-day because you decided to settle for what wasn't good for you. Because you settled for the wrong choice, and now you have to deal with the consequences of everything that is associated with the choice that you settled for. So if you're in a toxic relationship, and I know I've been there, you don't sit and yell at them and say, why don't you do better, and why don't you do this, and why don't you do that, and why would you waste your time doing that? You're the one who settled for them. You're the one who settled for that situation. You're the one who settled for that job. You're the one who settled for that friendship. So when you take radical self-accountability, you no longer need to argue with people about why things are the way that they are, because you are choosing to be there. Settling is a sign of scarcity. Every time in life when you settle because deep down in your subconscious mind, you are buying into the idea of scarcity, okay? When you settle, you're saying, this is the best I can do. There is this sense of radical self-accountability, right? Holding yourself accountable to what you choose and what you settle for. Life doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what you settle for. If you say, no, that's not good enough for me, give me better, then guess what? A buffet of new and better options become available to you. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about how you get what you settle for, always. So this is a really good conversation because I feel like people think that they want the best, they want the best, they want the best. And the truth is, if you wait out for the best, you will get the best. However, we are in a society, I call it the microwave society. We want instant gratification and instant success and instant microwave. And so we want to talk about today how you get whatever it is you settle for. So stop settling so that you can have the best life has to offer. It's not a story time, but I want to give you guys a visual so that you really understand what it means to settle. So let's say that you are going to the mall and you walk into your favorite shoe store and you tell the retail clerk, I wear a size 7. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And they go in the back, you pick out a shoe that you like and you're like, I'm a size 7. Can you find me this shoe in the size 7? And they go into the back, they look around, and they come back and they say, oh, darn, all we have is a size 5. Are you going to take the shoe? No. Why? Because it's not your size, right? When you settle, you look like somebody going to the shoe store. You know what your size is, i.e. you know what your desire is. You know what you want in life. But because the wrong thing is presented to you and you don't want to go home empty-handed, you're like, okay, I guess I'll just take that. Not good enough. You get what you settle for. Why would you ever buy a size 5 shoe when you know goodness well you're a size 7? Now you're living uncomfortably in life in your day-to-day because you decided to settle for what wasn't good for you. That's what happens when we settle in life. We are walking around in shoes that are too small for us or too big for us, wondering why we feel so irritated and uncomfortable, because that was never for you and you're settling. Okay, so I have 3 things I want to share with you guys, 3 lessons about how you get what you settle for in life. So here's the first thing. Settling is always a choice. There is no such thing as lack. There is no such thing as scarcity. What you want exists, and I know this to be true because you wouldn't want it if it didn't exist. People aren't wanting things that don't exist. We want what we want because we know it exists. Your dream house, you want what you want because you know it exists. Your dream partner, you want what you want because you know they exist. Everything that you want and desire, you want it because you know it exists. You know it's out there. So there's not a lack of items or materials or desires. There's not a lack of absolutely anything. However, because you are so eager to have it. I need it now, I need it now, I need it right now. You will settle for the thing that is not the best just to say that you have something. That is how you settle in life. That's how you compromise yourself. That is how people sell their souls, right? You think it's always about, like, I don't know, signing a contract with the devil. It's not. Sometimes settling is a form of selling your soul. When I talk about settling and how settling is a choice, settling for the wrong guy, that's a choice. Settling for the wrong job, that's a choice. Settling for the wrong friends, that's a choice. And so when you settle, you're unlocking all the things that come with the things that you settle for, even if it's the wrong choice. So when you settle for the wrong guy, you are unlocking the timeline where you get all of the things that are associated with that person that you settle for. Could be cheating, lying, they're lethargic, they're not ambitious, blah, blah, blah. You are unlocking that stuff for you because you chose to settle. Whereas if you had waited and held out for the right person, you were unlocking the door for all the good things that you want with them. They plan dates, they're romantic, they like to travel, they're generous, right? Same goes with the job. I know this is a touchy subject for some of us, because some of us, we really do feel trapped in the wrong jobs or doing the wrong things and doing things we don't want to do. We know deep down in our hearts we are settling at the job that we're at. However, we are unwilling to go for what we really want. Well, understand this. When you settle for the wrong job, you are unlocking timelines associated with the wrong choice. When you're settling, therefore you're dealing with crappy bosses, crappy co-workers, a stressful environment, you feel anxious, you feel drained, you feel burnt out. Why? Because you settled for the wrong choice, and now you have to deal with the consequences of everything that is associated with the choice that you settled for. Okay, this is just something that we need to keep in mind. In life, you have the power to choose and not change. What does that mean? You have the power to choose the best people for you, but you don't have the power to change people. For example, if there is a guy, right? You have the power to choose the right guy for you, but you do not have the power and authority to change that guy. If he likes you, if he loves you, he will change on his own, but that's not something that you get to decide. Another example, you have the power to choose the right girlfriends for you, right? But you don't have permission or the authority to change somebody, to change who they are. Okay, this goes with people, places, and things. You have the power to choose the best home for you, but you might not have the power to change it, right? Like if you're house shopping, you have the power to choose whatever house that you think that you can manage to have. But if you choose the wrong house, meaning, I don't know, you choose a house in the ghetto and then you get upset, like, oh my gosh, they're having drive-bys every day. Oh my gosh, my neighbors keep robbing my Amazon packages. Like, you chose that. And so in this conversation of you get what you settle for, there is this sense of radical self-accountability, right? Holding yourself accountable to what you choose and what you settle for, because you have the power to choose whatever you want, but you don't have the power to change the way things are. Does that make sense? You can change, but you change yourself. You're not necessarily changing things. You just decide to choose better. Okay, so here's the next lesson that I want to share with you guys. Settling is a sign of scarcity. Every time in life when you settle because deep down in your subconscious mind, you are buying into the idea of scarcity. Okay, when you settle, you're saying, this is the best I can do. When you settle for certain love, this is the best I can do. Whatever it is that you're settling for, you're subconsciously telling yourself, this is the best I can do. And so you know better exists, but you're unwilling to wait for it. You're unwilling to strive for it. You're unwilling to go for it. Therefore, again, you get whatever you settle for. Always. If you are staying in that relationship with that guy who is toxic and he, I don't know, is verbally abusive and he's a liar and he's a cheater, you choose to be in that predicament. You are settling to be in that predicament, and you are always going to get what you settle for, not what you desire. If you hold out for your desires, you'll get your desires. But at the end of the day, you will always get what you settle for. And so you have to stop arguing with people over the fact that you settled, okay? You settled. So if you're in a toxic relationship, and I know I've been there, you don't sit and yell at them and say, why don't you do better, and why don't you do this, and why don't you do that, and why would you waste your time doing that? You're the one who settled for them. You're the one who settled for that situation. You're the one who settled for that job. You're the one who settled for that friendship. So when you take radical self-accountability, you no longer need to argue with people about why things are the way that they are, because you are choosing to be there, okay? So don't argue with people over the fact that you settled. I know, this is a hard pill to swallow, because I know people will be like, well, what about this and what about that? In every instance, if you settle, you're going to get what you settle for. You don't get what you want, you don't get what you desire, you get what you settled for. Okay, the last thing I want to say, because I want to keep this very short, is that every time that you settle, you delay your dream life. Did you know that? Settling delays your dream life. It delays what you're supposed to have and experience in your reality, because you're allowed to have whatever the heck that you want in life. You're allowed to have whatever it is that you settle for. And so if you know your desire and you know your standard and you know your boundary, but you choose to settle for something that is not quite there, you get what you settle for. Okay, so even when you settle, you're never going to stop wanting what you truly desire, and that's something that you have to know. In life, even when we do settle, you're never going to stop wanting what you truly want, because our desires are sacred. They're given to us by God. There's a reason why we want what we want. We are a match to it. In some reality, like, this is what you're supposed to have. This is the life you're supposed to have. This is the things you're supposed to have, right? And so you can choose to keep striving for those desires, or you can get lazy, say, I'm tired and I want to give up, and then you just settle for the next easiest thing to get. So when we talk about settling, we are talking about being in alignment with what you want and having the energy and willpower to go after what you want. But remember, anytime you feel disappointed in your life, you don't get what you want, you don't get what you desire, you get what you settle for. Alright guys, that was a quick conversation. I hope that makes sense. My name is Nija Sym. I help awaken women create their dream life through manifestation and mindset. I hope you guys have been enjoying the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.